The world was jolted by a leaked video from a Philippine Coast Guard vessel. The footage showed a massive Chinese Coast Guard cutter ramming a smaller Philippine supply boat near Ayungin Shoal, 2nd Thomas Shoal, turning a routine resupply into a crisis. On board the rusted BRP Sierra Madre, Filipino Marines watched as their lifeline was violently cut off. This was no longer gray zone harassment, it was open aggression. News networks flashed the images worldwide, a David and Goliath struggle in the South China Sea. Analysts debated, was this a miscalculation or a deliberate test of resolve? In Manila, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. convened his Security Council. The mood, grim and resolute. Years of Chinese intimidation had escalated to a dangerous new level. The ramming crossed a line, forcing the Philippines to respond. The time for diplomatic protests was over. The world waited for Manila's next move, and for Washington's. The standoff at Ayungin Shoal had become a symbol of a much larger conflict. The stakes had never been higher. That night, President Marcos Jr. addressed the nation. "We will not be intimidated. The West Philippine Sea is ours," he declared. The Philippines recalled its ambassador from Beijing and suspended non-essential diplomatic channels. The message business as usual was over. The military scrambled. General Bronner Jr. knew the AFP was outgunned, but the ramming exposed their vulnerability like never before. Public outrage exploded. Filipinos rallied in the streets, united by a common threat. The hashtag #AtinAng West Philippine Sea trended worldwide. In the Defense Department, urgency mounted. They needed a game changer. Advanced missiles, radar, drones. The US was an option, but too slow. They needed a partner who could move fast and discreetly. The search for asymmetric capabilities began. The Philippines was drawing a red line and looking for a way to defend it. The nation's pride and survival were now at stake. The world watched for the next move. Beijing's response was swift and unapologetic. The foreign ministry blamed the Philippines, insisting the shoal was Chinese territory. The video evidence was dismissed, the narrative inverted. Under Xi Jinping, China's strategy was clear: dominate the South China Sea, militarize islands, and pressure neighbors into submission. The Philippines, allied with the US, was the main obstacle. The ramming was a calculated risk, meant to intimidate Manila and test Washington's resolve. Would the US risk confrontation over a rusted ship? Inside Beijing's Central Military Commission, confidence reigned. The South China Sea was their backyard, and the BRP Sierra Madre an affront to a race. The order escalate pressure, enforced claims by any means necessary. China gambled that its power would prevail. The world saw a high-stakes contest for Asia's future. The confrontation was just beginning. For the Philippines, this was about sovereignty and survival. The West Philippine Sea is vital, feeding millions, holding untapped energy reserves, and defining national identity. To cede it would be to accept vassal status. For China, control of the South China Sea is economic lifeblood and national pride. Backing down is not an option for either side. The conflict has global stakes. 1/3 of world trade passes through these waters. If China controls the sea lanes, it gains immense leverage over rivals. The Ayungin standoff is a microcosm of US-China rivalry, a test of the rules-based order. The fate of a rusted ship now symbolizes the struggle for Asia's future. If the Philippines is forced out, Beijing wins more than a shoal. It wins credibility. The world's eyes remain fixed on the contested waters. The next move could reshape the region. In Tel Aviv, a secret debate raged inside Israel's Ministry of Defense. The Philippines had sent an urgent request: advanced Israeli missile and radar systems. The foreign ministry warned, China is a key trading partner. Arming Manila risks economic blowback. Why poke the dragon? One diplomat asked. Defense officials countered, helping a US ally strengthens Israel's position with Washington and showcases Israeli tech. A successful deployment would boost exports and influence. Some saw a moral parallel, a small nation standing up to a giant. The Philippines had supported Israel's creation in 1947, a historical debt not forgotten. The decision weighed economic risk against strategic gain. The stakes: Israel's place in the global security order. The final call would come from the very top. The world would soon feel the ripple effects. The decision fell to Israel's prime minister. In a secret Jerusalem meeting, the arguments were laid bare. The foreign minister warned of Chinese retaliation, lost contracts, diplomatic freezes, support for Israel's adversaries. The defense minister argued, strategic alliances matter more than trade. This was a chance to prove Israel's value to the US and open new markets. Mossad's chief tipped the balance. China's retaliation would be limited. Beijing needed Israeli tech as much as Israel needed Chinese markets. More alarming, China was deepening ties with Iran. Helping the Philippines would also counter a threat closer to home. After hours of debate, the prime minister decided, approve the sale, but keep it secret. No public announcements. Delivery through discreet channels. The Philippines would get the tools to defend itself, while Israel maintained plausible deniability. The order was given. The secret arms deal was on. It was a bold gamble on the global chessboard. The balance of power in Asia was about to shift. The world would soon take notice. The operation began in darkness at Haifa's port. Unmarked containers were loaded onto a cargo ship under a false manifest, agricultural machinery, on paper. The ship took a circuitous route, avoiding major shipping lanes and maintaining radio silence. Israeli advisors traveled separately to Manila, posing as business consultants. At Subic Bay, a former US base, they prepared sites and trained Filipino officers in secret. Weeks later, the ship arrived at night. The port was locked down, special forces securing the perimeter. Containers were offloaded and hidden in camouflaged sites overlooking the South China Sea. The agricultural machinery was now in place. The Philippines secretly possessed a weapon that could change the balance of power. The Dragon was about to get a nasty surprise. The region would never be the same. The secret was safe, for now. The first sign of change came at sea. A Chinese militia vessel, harassing a Philippine boat, suddenly detected a powerful radar lock from shore. The message was clear. The rules had changed. The Chinese retreated. Whispers of a secret arms deal spread in intelligence circles. In Washington, the Pentagon quietly approved. Relieved the Philippines could now deter China without immediate US intervention. The State Department worried about escalation and secrecy. Beijing, suspecting Israeli involvement, issued vague threats and imposed informal tech restrictions. Southeast Asian nations watched closely. The Philippine-Israel deal became a template for resistance. Defense attachés from Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia made quiet inquiries in Tel Aviv. The Philippines' bold move inspired its neighbors. A new, informal coalition was taking shape. The balance of power in the South China Sea was shifting. February 8, 2026. A new reality grips the South China Sea. The BRP Sierra Madre still stands, but supply missions face less harassment. Chinese ships keep their distance, wary of hidden Blue Spear missiles on Palawan. A fragile deterrence is in place. For the Philippines, Israeli arms are a strategic triumph and a morale boost. The US-Philippine alliance is stronger, now a partnership of equals. Israel has emerged as a discrete security player in Asia. China is forced to rethink its tactics, relying more on economic and diplomatic pressure. The situation remains tense. A single misstep could spark war. The core issues of sovereignty and resources are unresolved. The secret arms deal hasn't ended the conflict, but it's changed its nature. The David and Goliath struggle is now a contest of equals. The world watches, hoping for peace, fearing the next flashpoint.